Not only is this incredible vocalist known all over the world as the First Lady of Song, but she is also widely considered to be the best female jazz vocalist of all time. With a very resonant voice, wide range, and near perfect elocution, this singer also had a fine sense of swing, and with her outstanding scat technique, could compete with any of her instrumental contemporaries. The centerpiece of today's video is all about Ella Fitzgerald. Before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push the notification bell to be sure you won't miss on any more uploads. Now without further ado, let's cue that intro. Fitzgerald was born in 1917 in Newport News, Virginia, and raised in a working-class household in Yonkers, New York. Her parents broke up soon after her birth, and she was mostly reared by her mother, Temperance Tempe Fitzgerald, and her mother's lover. She also had a younger half-sister, Frances, who was born in 1923. To help with the family's finances, Fitzgerald often took odd jobs, including, at times, running bet money for local gamblers. By her teens, the self-professed tomboy was engaged in athletics and often played in neighborhood baseball games. Her mother influenced her to like singing and dancing, and she spent many hours singing along to recordings by Bing Crosby and Kenny Boswell and the Boswell sisters. She also started traveling the train to see plays with her friends at Harlem's Apollo Theater. In 1932, her mother passed from injuries sustained in a car accident. Deeply distraught over the loss, Fitzgerald went through a difficult period that found her skipping school and getting in trouble with the police. She was subsequently sent to a reform school where she endured abuse by her caretakers, eventually breaking free from the reformatory. She found herself on her own in New York during the height of the Great Depression. Despite her struggles, she worked to pursue her love of performing. In 1934, she entered and won an amateur contest at the Apollo, singing Hoggy Carmichael's Judy in the style of her idol, Kenny Boswell. In the house band that night was saxophonist Benny Carter, who took the young vocalist under his wing and encouraged her to keep developing her career. And in 1935, Fitzgerald earned a week-long gig singing with Tiny Bradshaw at the Harlem Opera House. There, she met prominent drummer Chick Webb, who agreed to let her play with his orchestra during a one-night concert at Yale University. She won over the audience and spent the next few years with the drummer, who became her legal guardian and changed his presentation to include the vocalist. The band's prominence increased tremendously with Fitzgerald as they dominated at the Savoy Battle of the Bands and issued a string of songs, A Tisket a Tasket, as well as Liza and Undecided. As the singer's career progressed, his health deteriorated. Despite the fact that he was only in his 30s, the drummer, who had suffered from congenital spinal TB his whole life, was said to collapse from weariness after performing. Nonetheless, he persevered, intending to keep his band going during the Depression. Webb passed in 1939 shortly after undergoing extensive surgery at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore. After his passing, Fitzgerald continued to front her band with great success until 1941, when she decided to pursue a solo career. Fitzgerald remained with Decca and collaborated with the Ink Spots, Louis Jordan, and the Delta Rhythm Boys on multiple bestsellers until joining manager Norman Granz Jazz at the Philharmonic on a regular basis in 1946. Despite being known as a pop vocalist during her time with Webb, Fitzgerald had begun to experiment with scat singing, which she refined throughout these years. She toured with Dizzy Gillespie's big band and quickly incorporated bebop into her technique, punctuating her live concerts with instrumental-style scat solos that stunned audiences and garnered her fellow musicians' appreciation. So her recordings of Lady Be Good, How High the Moon, and Flying Home during 1945 to 1947 were released to great acclaim and helped solidify her stature as a major jazz vocalist. It was while working with Gillespie that she met and married bassist Ray Brown, living with him from 1947 to 1953, during which time she often performed with his trio. The couple also adopted a son, Ray Brown Jr., born to Fitzgerald's half-sister Frances in 1949, who would go on to his own career as a pianist and vocalist. In 1951, the singer paired with pianist Ellis Larkins for the duets album Ella Sings Gershwin, on which she interpreted George Gershwin's songs, prefiguring her later songbook series. After performing in the 1955 film Pete Kelly's Blues, Fitzgerald signed with Norman Granz' Verve label. Granz, her longtime manager, established Verve expressly to better showcase her vocals. Beginning with 1956's Sings, the Cole Porter Songbook, she recorded a string of songbooks albums interpreting the music of the great American songbook composers such as Cole Porter, George and Ira Gershwin, Rodgers and Hart, Duke Ellington, Harold Arlen, Jerome Kern, and Johnny Mercer. The acclaimed records, which earned Fitzgerald her first 4 Grammy Awards in 1959 and 1958, cemented her place as one of history's greatest singers. Other soon-to-be classic albums followed, including her 1956 pairing with Louis Armstrong Ella Lewis, 1957's Like Someone in Love, and 1958's Porgy and Bess with Armstrong. Also under Granz's guidance, Fitzgerald toured often, issuing a handful of highly regarded live concert albums. Among them, 1960's Ella in Berlin included her off-the-cuff take on Mac the Knife, in which she forgot the lyrics and improvised her own. One of the best-selling albums of her career, Ella in Berlin earned her Grammy Awards for Best Vocal for Performance Single Record or Track Female and Best Vocal Performance Album Female. The album was later inducted to the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1999. Verve was sold to MGM in 1963, and by 1967 Fitzgerald found herself without a contract. She spent the next few years recording for a number of labels like Capitol, Atlantic, and Reprise. Her albums during these years also found her updating her repertoire with modern pop and rock songs, such as Cream's Sunshine of Your Love and Beatles' Hey Jude.
Just a little bit colder.
She sang traditional hymns on 1967's Bright in the Corner, while 1969's Ella included her last US chart single with a cover of Smokey Robinson's Get Ready.
Going down to Bernardino.
Nonetheless, Fitzgerald remained an immensely popular and highly regarded performer. In 1967, she was bestowed with the Bing Crosby Award, later named the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award at the 10th Annual Grammy Awards. However, her later years were again marked by the influence of Granz after he founded the independent Pablo Records, a concert album, Jazz at the Santa Monica Civic 72, featuring Fitzgerald, pianist Tommy Flanagan, and the Count Basie Orchestra, gained popularity via mail order sales and helped Granz launch the label. More albums followed throughout the 70s and 80s, many pairing the singer with artists like Basie, Oscar Peterson, and Joe Pass, among others. While diabetes affected her eyes and heart during this period, forcing her to take breaks from performing, Fitzgerald always retained her joyful style and exuberant sense of swing. Away from the stage, she was committed to helping disadvantaged youth and made contributions to various charity organizations. In 1979, she was honored with a Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts Medal of Honor Award. She also received the National Medal of Arts from President Ronald Reagan in 1987. More honors followed, including a Commander of Arts and Letters Award from France and other honorary doctorates from Yale, Harvard, Dartmouth, and other universities. She withdrew from her career after performing at Carnegie Hall, New York in 1991. Fitzgerald passed on June 15, 1996, at home in Beverly Hills, California. Fitzgerald was positioned as one of the most important and recognizable figures in jazz and popular music grew throughout the decades following her death. She remains a household name around the world and has received a number of posthumous accolades, including 4 Hall of Fame Grammys and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. While doing research, I discovered that Ella Fitzgerald and Marilyn Monroe were really close friends. When asked about her favorite singers, Monroe answered, "Well, my very favorite person, and I love her as a person and a singer, I think she's the greatest, and that's Ella Fitzgerald." Monroe was not just a Fitzgerald fan, but also a friend who exploited her celebrity position to advance Fitzgerald's career. Their bond would continue until Monroe's tragic passing. Even after Monroe's passing away, Fitzgerald was thankful for the star's support during her life. The story says that when traveling in the 50s under Norman Granz's management, Fitzgerald, like many other African American singers at the time, suffered severe difficulties as a result of her color, particularly in Jim Crow states. Granz was a staunch supporter of civil rights, insisting that all of his artists be treated similarly at hotels and venues, regardless of race. During the 50s, one of the most prominent locations was the Mocambo in Hollywood, and Fitzgerald wanted to perform there. Fitzgerald was not permitted to play at Mocambo due to her race. Enter Marilyn Monroe, one of her biggest fans, who made a phone call that may potentially change the course of her career for the better.
Into the New York world of jazz. Just a year earlier, Marilyn had succeeded in breaking the color barrier by getting one of her favorite singers, Ella Fitzgerald, booked into Los Angeles' Mocambo nightclub.
This was a girl who really wanted to do something. Marilyn loved Ella Fitzgerald, and Marilyn made a deal with the head of the nightclub that if they would book her, she would come every night. Marilyn would show up every night.
Marilyn was like a fan, you know, just like the fans were with her, you know. She was that way with Ella.
But Marilyn went beyond being a fan. She became part of the American concept of cool culture, struggling to find her talents.
Now, before we go, I have a question for you all. What is your favorite song from Ella Fitzgerald?